Hello and welcome to Big Picture. I'm Vishal Dahiya and today we're going to talk about Global Biodiversity Outlook Report and Target 3030. Now, the UN Convention on Biological Diversity has recently released its fifth report, which says that the world has not been able to fully meet 20, almost all 20 of the targets which were set in, that is conservation targets. Now, the Outlook report also says that the world will have to do more. And in fact, the target 3030 means that we will now have to work towards conserving at least or saving at least 30% of our planet by 2030. We'll try and understand what does this report says and what exactly are the contours of Target 3030 and how can we perhaps meet them? How big is the challenge here and the solutions as well? And for more on this, we're joined by a distinguished panel of guests. Let me first introduce them to you, beginning with Professor C.K. Varshney. He is an environmentalist and former dean of the School of Environmental Sciences in Jawaharlal Nehru University. We're also joined by Urmi Goswami, assistant editor at Economic Times, looks after environment-related issues. And we also have with us Mr. Vivek Saxena, the country representative of IUCN. Welcome, all of you, to Rajya Sabha TV. Let me begin with you, Urmi, and let's start by giving our viewers a bit of a lowdown on this fifth report of the regarding Global Biodiversity Outlook. What does it actually say specifically about those 20 targets and the new target, that is Target 3030 as well?
So, what is said very clearly about the 2020 targets, which were set in 2010 at Nagoya in Japan, and these are known as the IT biodiversity targets, that the world as a whole is not going to meet any of the targets. So there are 20 targets and none of them will be met. But at the same time, the degradation of ecosystems and the loss of biodiversity, it's kind of speeded up, and the pressures that exist on it that intensify the loss have also sort of increased. Just to give an example from another report that was released a few days earlier is the Living Planet report by the WWF, which said that 68%, there's been a 68% decline in population of mammals, reptiles, amphibians, fish, birds between 1970 and 2016. The previous edition of that report, which came out in 2018, found that there had been a 60% decline between 1970 and 2014. So basically, you can see the speed at which the decline is happening. So that's what the Global Biodiversity Outlook, the fifth edition, says is basically the government governments across the world agreed to set 20 targets, which comprising 60 elements, and whereas some of these elements will be met. So there's success in 7 elements. There is some progress on 30 odd others. There is complete no progress on 17, and 2 we don't know if there is progress or not. But on the whole, we are not meeting the targets. And these include elements like tackling pollution, halving the loss of natural habitats, which includes forests, increasing efforts for conserving and preserving species. So and again, it's patchy. Some countries have been able to meet some of the elements, other countries have met some others, but on the whole, globally, we are in a bad shape. So that is basically what is said. Okay. Now, what this outlook does say is it actually reiterates something we came to know last year when the intergovernmental body, the IPBES, the Intergovernmental Panel on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, told us in their first global assessment that we will be losing 1 million species if we do nothing. The long and the short of all these reports, and what seems to just get more and more, strengthened, solidified, and confirmed is that human beings are destroying the very system, the very ecosystem that preserves their lives as we know it. And if we don't change our ways, then we are in big trouble. And that is where the conversation comes for the next set of targets.
Okay.
Because this IT targets are only for 2020. Now we're talking about the post-2020 targets. And in this outlook, which we can come back to a little later, they speak about 8 transformational paths, which relate to how you, your cities, your food systems, agriculture, how you deal with land. But the simple message is that we have to take a long, hard look at the way we conduct ourselves, because if we continue this way, we are actually we are sort of cutting the very branch we are sitting on.
Okay. Okay. And let me bring in Mr. Vijay Saxena from IUCN here. Mr. Saxena, your organization does a lot of work on all these aspects which we are talking about today, and in coordination with several other organizations and governments as well. Now, 2 questions here. One is, how worrying is this particular report? As in, does it point to a very bleak scenario, as it says when we read that none of the 20 targets have been fully met, and the target 30-30 also? And how do we look at the entire scenario vis-a-vis what needs to be done up to 2030?
Thank you, Mr. Vishal. As the report itself alarms us, and this report alarming us during the COVID times itself gives a message that what we should do. So it also gives us some sort of introspection that in the past, what way we have been able to conserve the biodiversity and why the biodiversity conservation is important. And as we see that the present COVID pandemic itself is also somewhere rooted with the disruption of the ecosystems or our disconnect with the nature. So as we have now come with this Global Biodiversity Outlook report, which itself says the targets which we set up in 2020 and we initiated in 2010, which are known as Aichi biodiversity targets. So we are not able to meet those targets with the objective with which they were set up. Some of the countries may have achieved to some extent in some of the things. Some of the countries may be lagging behind in some others. But when we see in totality, certainly this also gives a message, the way forward. The way forward is in next 10 years, what way we should do. And before we, as you asked about my organization, IUCN International Union of Conservation of Nature has been quite active right from the beginning, and it is one of the oldest environment conservation network which was set up in 1948. And it has played a very significant role in shaping the global conservation agenda. Maybe the World Conservation Strategy or the 3 Rio Conventions, and now post-2020 biodiversity framework. And recently, ultimately, our connect with the nature, care for the species, that is most important aspect. And accordingly, IUCN has also recently launched the Global Standards on Nature-Based Solutions in July only this year. And one of the important role which IUCN has played globally in terms of the species conservation as one of the important knowledge product for which IUCN has a brand value in terms of the red listing of the species. So there are 8 categories of the red listing accordingly based on their range, population, the trend, population size and all. These species are categorized under various categories. So suppose if any of the species gets into a particular category, so that triggers the conservation action. And that conservation action in terms of the species, because if you see the most of these species within the ecosystem, they have equal importance and they are interlinked. They provide various type of ecosystem services. Some we know, some we don't know. But the equilibrium which these species or the ecosystems they provide, that need to be sustained. And this is one of the great message when we look toward with this report, that what we should do for the next 10 years. One of the important aspect, as Urmiji recently pointed out, there are 8 important thematic areas in which we need to work. At the same time, in the broader, in terms of the 2030, 30% of the land area and 30% of the oceans, they need to be conserved over the next 10 years to strive for a global biodiversity framework, which we are setting for the 2050. We want to have a connect or transition toward a live in harmony with nature. So this is the important alarming message, and certainly globally, collectively, we need to take action for conservation of biodiversity.
Okay, a global collective action is definitely required. Let me bring in Professor C.K. Varshney here. Professor Varshney, as the report says, out of the 20 targets, 14 were not met at all, 6 were partially met. So how serious is the situation? And also, why is it that time and again we fail to achieve all these targets we set for ourselves?
You see, the report that has come, it gives a very clear warning that the global community is really entering into a most serious phase for its survival. Almost we are entering into ICU. Let us understand that what this biodiversity means to human beings. You see, from your breath to your food that you take from morning till evening, you depend on biodiversity. The biodiversity is the basis of all human societies, irrespective of their geography, irrespective even the past societies, the present society, as well as the future societies are only going to get their nourishment and anchor from biodiversity. Be your breath, be your resources for industry, they are all dependent on biodiversity. So if this base gets eroded, which the report has clearly shown, and also it has shown that global community has not been very sensitive to the biodiversity issues. For 10 years, we have not been able to really make a progress where we should have really progressed quite a bit in order to support our base, in order to generate more resources, in order to provide resources for human welfare and for human containment and for human improvement. So I think here is a situation which is very alarming. I must also say that the land area which is outside the permanent ice area, 70% of the land has been impacted very severely by human action. And most of these species that we are talking are really terrestrial species as well as the marine species. All of them are suffering very severely because of our irresponsible action and their harvesting for. We are using biodiversity as a commercial, as a product. But actually, we should really consider as a community of which we ourselves are dependent upon. Life depends on life. All life are interconnected like a jigsaw puzzle. If you have any problem and dislocation, it reverberates through the system, including our welfare and our health. You have just seen the COVID situation. It is just a increased interaction with the wildlife of the human species that the virus has jumped, which remains within the wildlife to the human community. And it has really shaken up the economy. It has really eroded last many decades of progress and economic growth. So you can see that misbehaving with biodiversity has a very serious consequences.
Okay.
Now, I just want to give you one example. In India, traditionally, we had large number of rice varieties. Each rice variety was really adopted for different kind of soil and climatic complexes. And it is estimated that we had about 120,000 varieties, out of which only barely less than 6,000 are available today. So you see the industrial agriculture, the industrial growth of animal husbandry, all this has really impacted us very seriously. Once we clear land for agriculture, we really do away with all biodiversity. Deforestation is very high. Now these global figures are fine, but if you decompose these global figures, you will find that where the biodiversity is extremely rich, which are known as hotspots, actually the problem is far more serious than the global averages demonstrate. And in fact, for India, which has number of these global hotspots of biodiversity, our responsibility becomes increasingly more and high.
Okay.
And industry has not given the kind of attention that it requires to give.
Okay.
So all these things are creating a situation which is threatening and which really makes the future very bleak for the economic growth and for human health and well-being.
Okay, it is indeed a serious situation, and you explained it in a wonderful way, Professor Varshney. But one more point here is that now the report talks about Target 3030. One, what is Target 3030? And two, what needs to be done to ensure that we don't fall short of achieving this target again, as we've done in the past 10 years, and the results have not been, very positive. In fact, they've been very serious for us.
You are absolutely right. I tell you that we have to identify the levers and we have to really work very hard to really make use of them to incorporate and mainstream biodiversity in every decision process, in every administrative process, in a very serious manner. Actually, the kind of engagement that we have with climate change has completely taken all our resources and enthusiasm. And I think we have to understand the value of biodiversity. If we are capable of maintaining biodiversity, we are capable of handling the impact of the climate change also in a more successful manner. So I think it is absolutely important that we should understand, we should make definite laws, we should really coordinate all our plans, projects and activities where the biodiversity concerns are not an appendix, but are central. And it is around this that every activity has to be woven in order to really project ourselves, to ensure our future, and to really ensure our resources from the land. You see, land and the biodiversity is the only basic resource on which we depend, traditionally and also in future. Even for our space journeys and in space, conquering, we have to depend on biodiversity. Today, there has been a news 2 days ago that there is a phosphine that has been found there. And that has created a great, jubilation that biodiversity is there. So even for going out and for any endeavor of the modern kind, we have to depend on biodiversity. Even for making the vaccine for COVID-19, we have to depend on organisms. So I think the clever use of organism with respect and discipline, right from the central ministries to administrative ministries and to not only environment ministry. I think all ministries have to really take into account this kind of activity, because there is no activity which does not have an interface, either very intimately or otherwise, with the biodiversity, right up to the panchayat level. And unless this kind of a seamless understanding as well as commitment exists, we cannot do. I must say that there are a number of bright points which we will discuss later, where we see hope. And I think it is these kinds of things which need to be projected, and we should really exchange experiences, and at the same time, we should really provide a new vigor as well as rigor to the biodiversity issues in all our activities and plans.
Okay, there is new vigor and new rigor required out there. Urmi, you're talking about 8 specific aspects as well, and now that we're talking about Target 3030 here, what comprises that 30% which needs to be saved? An effort needs to be made as per Target 3030, 30% till 2030.
Well, basically, the argument is that if you protect 30% of your resources, if you set a target like that, you can then leverage it for greater protection. So, in a sense, it's like reconfiguring the game plan, because we are talking about the last decade or the targets for from 2011 to 2020 that have not been met. But actually, I would like to remind everybody that this is coming on the back of another decade of missed targets. So it's even the last outlook found that the targets have been missed. But there were a different set of targets. So we have been missing biodiversity-related targets now for 2 decades. So the 30% target for 2030 is kind of a pathway to the living in harmony with nature 2050 that we are talking about. So it is, in a sense, creating smaller targets, but as part of an overarching long-term target of like the mid-century target. So I think in a sense it's like borrowing a bit from the climate approach, where you have the mid-century target and you're now and then you have the every 5 years the target that you have asked the country to make. In this case, we are trying to make a 10-year sort of target, because we forget that biodiversity is everything. When we talk about biodiversity, we talk in terms of animals and birds, but actually we too are part of that biodiversity. It's all species on Earth. It's all kinds of species, and we too are part of that biodiversity. The only problem in this case is that one of the species has kind of overtaken everything, and their activities are driving the others out. So in a sense, so that is what needs to be thing. There's only one small point I would like to make.
Yes.
When it comes to mainstreaming of biodiversity concerns, I think one of the big problems we have had is we tend to think whether when it's biodiversity or environmental degradation or ecological conservation, we talk in terms of as if it's something separate. It is not. We need to understand that if we do not address these issues, we won't be able to meet the other goals, the economic goals we have. When we are talking about biodiversity, the loss of ecosystem services, the loss of biodiversity leads to loss of ecosystem services. We are talking about things like access to fresh water. Without fresh water, you are not going to be able to have any economic activity. So you have to think in that perspective. It's not something separate.
Okay, so it cannot be looked at it in isolation, as Urmi is pointing out. It's rather an integral part of the overall growth which we keep on talking about, including the economic one. Mr. Saxena, from your point of view, what needs to be done practically on the ground by all the stakeholders involved here, from an individual to the organizations and to the governments as well?
Yeah, thank you, Vishal, and Urmi rightly pointed out that what needs to be done further. Coming to the ground, each and every stakeholder at the individual level, at the government level, and even at the business level, we are all dependent on the various resources. And for ensuring that we have a cleaner air surrounding us, we have a cleaner water, healthy soils, that is possible only if we care for the nature and ensure the conservation of biodiversity.
Okay.
Take, for example, the various business houses related to their businesses are resource dependent. Maybe if you want, they want energy or water, maybe they want some mineral for the mining. So these are not, you can say in the long run, if you exploit them without taking care of the associated biodiversity, then what is the end result? If we have occupied the space of the other species. So that's why there is always a threat of such type of sudden halt to the entire world, like we are witnessing in the form of this present pandemic. So the businesses also need to realize that when they think of or they set their economic targets or they think of their sustainability of their profits. So sustainability concerns and the biodiversity conservation, they should be integral part to ensure sustainability of their business value chain.
Okay.
Otherwise, if we think of those targets and the economic target without taking care of the nature of biodiversity conservation, such type of threat will always be there. The resource which we use, as Dr. Varshney also pointed out, that biodiversity richness, just like in the form of the agro-biodiversity, we had so many varieties of the rice which used to be cultivated, and they were suitable to particular type of soil, particular type of climate. But at the same time, when we try to improve upon or expansion or intensification of the agriculture, we did not care about the loss of those species and their importance in the ecosystem. Similarly, the various species, directly or indirectly, maybe you think of just like the bees, which they provide the services of the pollination, is a very important aspect. So that also is under a lot of threat because of the loss of biodiversity, and which in day-to-day business cycle we don't realize it.
Okay.
So at every level, maybe in the government level, when we develop any of the cities, the way we want to see our cities, the green infrastructure within the cities, the water table, how to ensure that the water table is sustained or the groundwater table is maintained, so accordingly you get a good quality clean drinking water. Similarly, the surrounding, what type of agriculture systems, the food system which you get, the forest surrounding when we do the afforestation or plantation, we also have to ensure that the indigenous species
So basically a concerted approach by all concerned and all stakeholders here is required. That's what, all of you are pointing out. We're running short of time, but before we bring this to an end, let's take a concluding comment from Professor Varshney. Professor Varshney, your views on the practical steps to be taken from here onwards, as Mr. Saxena and Urmi both are pointing out, it has to be an integrated approach, can't be an isolated one here.
Absolutely. It has to be integrated approach, and it has to be taken as an essential component of planning as well as essential component of actually practices that we are taking to the field. I just give you two examples. You see, there is always possible to reverse the situation, but then it requires effort, thinking, planning, and imagination.
Okay.
And that is possible provided we really dedicate ourselves and commit ourselves to these issues of biodiversity. I give you one simple example from India itself, and which has now utilized by a number of farmers in our country with great profit and containment. For example, you see this single species cultivation, which we call monocultivation or monocrop cultivation, must be replaced by multi-crop cultivation, which is a multi-layer cultivation where trees are the part of it and the shrubs are there and so on and so forth, and the ground vegetable crops and so on.
Okay.
So this multi-layer cropping improves the soil, as well as this kind of a farming has shown that it is a conservation farming, which improves the soil quality, which improves the pollinators, which we are now suffering from. 40% of insect population of the world are in danger, and they are very, very important for pollination and for the successful growth of the plant. It is just calculated, which is an underestimate, that $135 billion work is done by these insects.
Okay.
So I think that we have to do that. At the same time, we have shown to the world that in case of the tiger, we have been very, very successful, and we have demonstrated. So I think given the attention, we should be able to really do much better. And I tell you that much of the land which we have today started plowing can be spared for the wild growth and for the natural growth to come up, which will sustain the biodiversity.
Professor Varshney, Urmi Goswami and Mr. Vivek Saxena were pointing out, as far as biodiversity is concerned, it is really, really important and the basis of the very existence of human species here on the planet. We need to do more, and we need to do more now in a very concerted and integrated manner by not missing these targets which we keep on setting for ourselves decade after decade. We'll come back again tomorrow with a different topic. Till then, keep watching Rajya Sabha Television.